Alright, welcome back. This is going to be Tier 2 of PowerPoint, so we're going to go a little bit more involved into animation so you can kind of see how to use this a little bit more involved in your lessons. So going back to the practice performance task that we're going to be doing today, here again is just copied and pasted our practice performance task. I'm going to actually show you how we can kind of guide students through. So as you can see, I have some boxes that are highlighted just to show you how you would create that on your own. So here you have a bunch of options here. I would go to Insert, Shape, and then I would just kind of create a box. I could go to Shape Fill, and so I can make it more transparent as to have the words shine through. I would select whatever color I want to use, and where it says transparency, I would just lower that down. So that way when I put it over whatever word I want highlighted, you can kind of see through it. And then also to kind of paste the animation so that students kind of know what they're supposed to be highlighting in real time, I'll also click on the box that I want and then say, okay, animation, I want to make it a wipe, or I can make it a shape. Or if you really want to see what it has, you can also put add animation. And as you can see, there's a bunch of different views, and you can kind of preview them if you'd like. They're kind of fun to kind of mess around with, and feel free to try it out. And then you can also have something exit or add for emphasis if you'd like, which is also kind of cool. Notice though, as I'm doing this, you're like, what was that she just clicked on? It's the animation pane. It lets me know the order of my animations, and then of course for that particular box I just added a bunch of animations. You can also have something exit, by the way, so if I want some exit options, I can have it split. And if I want to kind of preview what I just did, I can say, hey, let me play the selected. So I have it do a bunch of stuff, different entrances, just to play around with it. Yeah, that's just to show you how you can kind of create that box. But I'm going to go ahead and actually just remove all those animations. As you can see, all I did was I right-clicked and then just pressed remove. I actually don't want that box, so I'm going to delete it. If you're wondering, how did she just delete that? I could either select it and press backspace, or I can just cut that shape. Either way. Alright, so how do I do the actual animations for this particular lesson? I'm not going to go through all of them, but just a few of them. So let's say, for example, these are the ones I want to use. If I want to preview a certain amount, let's say like the first 5, I want to see what that looks like. Play from selected. So that shows me what it's going to highlight for me. I can also see from the slideshow, which is something I usually do just to make sure that it looks the way I want it to do on the actual day of the assignment. So I'll be reading this out loud to the class, and yes, this SGI symposium will also get through it, but it says, Computer Store sells both tablets and laptops. One brand of tablet costs $200, so let's highlight some important words. Oh, look, I wasn't even at the front when it clicked and highlighted it already. That same brand of laptops costs $400. Oh, and then the next thing, without me being in the front. So as I'm clicking through, it kind of just goes to that. And then I kind of show you what our equation is going to look like, because they're going to ask us for an equation. And some highlights that come up. Notice how I color code, so that way students are kind of guided. By the way, students have been doing these problems for a while, so this is just like a helper guide. But I know there's some participants who are not very strong in the math, or might have been something that they did a very long time ago, so I'm going to provide support, and it's also a great way just to show how students will be able to do this. What else? So that's just animation. And then about ordering those things, so as you can see here, like I have this table that's just randomly there. Oh, you can also click and have other stuff move as well. In fact, as you can see here, I kind of want that to be visible. Now as I move it though, the question goes away. So what I could do, so that way this doesn't overshadow this, I'm going to select the assessment practice performance test block, this one that's selected here, and I'm going to go to format, and let's go to color. Let's set transparent. So now I can see what's underneath that. I can also resize and kind of move my boxes a little bit so it matches the words now that I've resized my document. And what else? But now I can actually see the words underneath, which is to write an equation and then graph the equation. I also don't want that table to pop out just yet, so I'm actually going to go to animation. I'm going to click on my table. I'm going to press animation. I'm going to press wipe. I don't want it to be at the end though. I'd like it to be after I do maybe this animation here. So after maybe that green box. So you really want to think about the pace and what you want students to see. It's a lot of preparation in the forefront before your lesson, but it's going to save a lot the day of, and if you do decide to do any screencast the lesson, you can do that as well. So let's check that out and see what that looks like now that I've resized it. So I'm going to go to slideshow, current slide, and let's see what that looks like. So again, I'm going to read the question. Stuff's highlighted, so I might want to fix that. The sales goal is about 20,000. Here's my equation because that's the first thing they ask us to do. Some highlights to help students guide in through. And then we have our table. That's to kind of give us what the title will be for each of these columns. And then here is our 0, if we bought 0 tablets or 0 laptops. Now it's a little unclear because as you can see some of the stuff is still blank. So I'm going to add some stuff to. So as you can see I added some words already and you're wondering how did she do that? Like how did she do that and also make them so that they appear? So I would go to here where it says insert text box and I want to, let's say, include x equals blank. As you can see here I have y equals blank. So I have that. I want to change the font to Arial and I want to make it bold and I want to increase the size. So now that I've done all that, I can then click and drag and say I want it here. I want to increase the size even more. And now I want to add an animation so that it appears maybe with the table itself. So as I can see here, table is the 11th animation. Y equals is the 20th animation, then X doesn't have an animation at all. So I'm going to go ahead and add an animation wipe. You can choose whichever you'd like, but as you can see they appear at different times. I want to have these items appear essentially all at the same time. I want the 0 and the Y equals and the X equals to appear at the same time as the table itself. So as you can see here I'm kind of unable to click that blue thing. I wonder why. Probably because it's not forward enough. And as you can see when I right clicked, oh sorry about that, as I clicked on that and selected for it to be brought forward, it kind of shines through. Again, if I wanted to kind of make this see-through, I can select the stuff that I copied and go to Format, Color, Set Transparent, so that way that issue doesn't come through again. So I want 0, Y equals, X equals to all appear at the same time as the table itself. So I'm going to select all of, select each one of these. So 12. Sorry about that. Again, I do not know why I cannot click 0. There it is. So as you can see, 0 appears right after the table. I want it to go with the previous, so start with the previous. So that means the table and the 0 will appear at the same time, just as I would like my Y equals to do the same. So I'm going to also kind of click and drag, so it's the 12th animation. click, right click and press start with previous, and now it'll appear at the same time. I want now the x equals, which is the 19th animation, to also appear. I'll do the same thing, start with previous, and the last one, which is the 0, start with previous. Alright, let's see what that looks like. So now that I have all that, I have my equation, I have those items filled in, my table will now start all together, and then I can now say, okay, well, what do I want my labels to be? Tablets, laptops, and now we're going to go ahead and start finding what the y and x value will be. But that's just one way you can kind of do these different animations, so that way you can guide through your lesson. I hope this was helpful.